obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the class. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Kadati Swapadam Dipam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathatam Tam Sachivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Panasya Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaur Namine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta State Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishava Anusute Devi Pranamami Harikshmi Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namostute Vyasa Vishada Buddhe Pullarvindayatapatra-netre Yena tvaya bharatatailapurnaha Vrajavaduto jnanamaya pradipah Prapanna parijataya Totra vaitraikapane Dhyanamudhraya krishnaya Gita-amrita duhe Namaha. Studying chapter 4 of Bhagavad-gita as it is. A new section is going to begin from verse number 11. In the previous verse, we discussed that Krishna told Arjuna, if someone understands in truth his divine activities and birth, that person becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. That person becomes free from attachment, fear, and anger, and attains Krishna. That was discussed. So, a new section begins here where Krishna talks about those who may not agree to walk upon this path. What is being suggested by Krishna? Like, simple question. Do all who take shelter of Krishna attain to the same goal?
No, Prabhu. No.
No, right? They don't. Because it depends on your purpose of taking shelter of Krishna. Someone might take shelter of Krishna to achieve something different from transcendental love for Krishna. Someone may not be interested in serving Krishna. Someone may be just interested in Brahman, knowledge of Brahman. So Krishna then explains that based on how people approach him, he reciprocates accordingly. So that's the verse 4.11. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tangstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushyaha partha sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pitha. Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence, and as the all-pervading super soul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as Supreme Master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocation of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here and in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord, and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal, blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them who are not firmly situated even in the impersonal existence return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. Material planets. For those who are fruitive workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yageshwara, and those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect. As is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10, Akamaha sarva kamo va moksha kamo daradhihi tivarena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. So here from the purport we came to learn that as we want and we approach Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. Um, Fruitive workers are given their fruitive results. Impersonalists, they merge in the Brahma Jyoti. Yogis get the mystic powers. And the devotees, they begin to experience the five primary rasas, one of the five primary rasas with the Supreme Lord. Fine. Now, someone may ask, if Krishna gives whatever you want when you approach him, why not everyone surrender to Krishna then? Why do people go to other demigods or other personalities to fulfill their desires? Krishna gives whatever you ask or whatever you desire. So why then go to someone else? Why not always go to Krishna? And Shukdev Goswami prescribes that even if you have material desires, you should go to Krishna only. Akamaha sarva kamava. Gradually it will lead to Krishna consciousness. But still, we know people don't do that. So why? So the reason is given in the next verse. They need an instant result. Hare Krishna. 4.12. Next verse. कांक्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world because they desire quick success. They worship the demigods. Purport. Sarvadev Giridhari.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, I am not able to see the.
Sorry. Yes, here.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, purport. There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of the material world and men of less intelligence, although passing of great scholars. Take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the demigods are non-different forms of the God, but they are God's different part and parcels. God is one, and the part and parcel are many. The Veda says, Nityo Nityanam. God is one. Ishvara Parama Krishna. The Supreme God is one. Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with the powers to manage the material world. These demigods are all living entity, Nityanam, with the different grades of the material power. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God, Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called atheist or Pashandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma and Shiva. Shiva Virichya Nutam. At curiously enough, there are many humans leaders who are worshipped by the foolish men under the misunderstanding.
What happened, Prabhu?
They cannot be equal to the Supreme Lord Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God is demigods are on the same level is called atheist or Pashandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by the demigods such as Brahma and Shiva. Shiva Vichintya Nyunam. Yet, curiously enough, there are many human leaders who foolish men under understanding and anthropocenism or zoomopropism. Zoomopropism. Iha Devata denotes a powerful man or demigod of the material world. Even the great demigods who are the worshipped by the foolish man under the misunderstanding. Material creation, even Sripad Shankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalist maintains and Narayana or Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people, Ratha Jnana, worship the demigod because they want to immediate result. They get the results, but do not know that results so obtained are temporary and are meant for the less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in the Krishna consciousness and he has no need to worship the planetary demigods or some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of the...
Thank you. Someone
Yeah.
else can continue for the question. Sarvapalika Padma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The demigods of this material world as well as their worshippers will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoyable paraphernalia. To achieve such temporary things, people worship the demigods or powerful men in human society. If a man gets some ministership in the government by worshipping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. All of them are therefore now towing to the so-called leaders or big guns in order to achieve temporary boons, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. They are all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worshipping empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entities. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So they want it badly, whatever they would desire materially, and therefore they want to go behind the demigods, hoping that it will come to them soon, right? So this happens why? Because there's a good lesson. When you want what you want badly and you don't want to pay the price for it, you're sure to get cheated. And that's what happens with people who worship the demigods. In long run, they are cheated. They don't get the actual benefit what they should have gotten. And it's all because of their strong material desire. I want it anyhow. I want it. Next verse. चातुर्वर्ण्यमया शिष्टं गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विधिय कर्तारमव्ययम्. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So are the different people different because Krishna made them so? Like demons, demigods, devotees, impersonalists, demigod worshippers.
No, Prabhuji.
Someone may say, I am like this because God made me like this. What to do, what to do. So it is Krishna's doing or it's my own doing?
It's our own way.
It's my own doing. Yeah, based on guna and karma, right? Different people are there, different types of living entities are there. Purport. Kunal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of Him. Everything is sustained by Him. And everything of the annihilation rests in Him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically called Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Kshatriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance. And the Shudras,
Or laborer class.
or laborer class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions, because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate man from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of a particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to the different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas. Although Brahmanas by quality are supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth, most of them approach only for the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna. But a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, etc. And as Krishna is transcendental to this system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the division of community, nation, or species. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So based on guna and karma, guna means mentality. The different types are given: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And what are the modes that control them? So Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. For Brahmana, it is mostly mode of goodness. For Kshatriya, it is mode of passion. For Vaishya, also mode of passion. And for Shudra, it is mode of. So now you see, I have a question. If you go to verse number 3.27, and you read the translation there, and if you look at this verse 4.13, read the translation, you'll find Krishna is speaking about a particular subject, and he's saying there's something, and he's saying something else here. What is that?
That Krishna is the doer in 3.27.
Krishna is the doer.
In 3.27.
And here in 4.13,
He is not the doer.
so why two choose at two different places? Which one is correct? Both have to be correct.
Both are correct.
Or you can say otherwise, he's saying in 3.27, Jiva is not the doer. And in 4.13, he's saying Jiva is the doer based on his guna and karma. He's given a particular kind of body. And his body is a result of his past activity. So he is the doer. And 3.27, he said, Jiva is not the doer. Influenced by false ego, he thinks I am the doer. So people may then have, conflict of understanding here in the philosophical sense, what is right. However, by saying like this, Krishna is trying to send a message across. Later on, we'll come to know that the Jiva is also a doer. So when Krishna is saying in 3.27, you are not the doer, the purpose is to emphasize our position as tiny souls who should not be falsely proud. And in 4.13, he tells that you are the doer, to emphasize our culpability so that we be accountable for our actions. We do something responsibly so that we don't blame God for our suffering or for our sinful actions. We take the charge. And earlier he says you're not the doer because we do act, we don't really cause the result of our actions. The result of our actions are given to us by material nature. She rewards, right? We don't cause the result. Like to give you an example. If you are hungry, you will eat food. That is the action done by you. But the body will digest it. If the body does not digest, which is out of your hand or out of your control, then the result of eating that good food will not be obtained. And the digestion of the body is based on how the material nature is at that time controlling you, right? If the demigods are not supporting your digestion, then no digestion will happen. And if the demigods are supporting, it will happen. So I'm doing, but I'm not really controlling the results of my actions. I'm putting efforts. To make that clear, that was explained. Now let's read the next verse, 4.14. न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्म फले स्पृहा इति मां योऽपि जानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते. There is no work that affects me, nor do I desire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. One who understands Krishna's nature does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. Why? Because when you understand Krishna's nature, then you also desire to get that nature and act like that, the way Krishna acts. Fine. We'll read the purport and then we'll explain with a very beautiful analogy given by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. Let's read the purport. Anik Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Ramnath Pranam. As there are constitutional laws in the material world stating that the king can do no wrong or that the king is not subject to the state laws, similarly the Lord, although he is the creator of this material world, is not affected by the activities of the material world. He creates and remains aloof from the creation, whereas the living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of material activities because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. The Lord, being full in himself, has no attraction for so-called heavenly happiness. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. He is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, The rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth. Although without such rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. Vedic Smriti confirms this fact as follows. Nimitta matram evaso shrijyanam sarga karmani pradhana karani bhuta yato vai shrija shaktayah. In the material creations, the Lord is only the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature, by which the cosmos manifestation is made visible. The created beings are of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. The Lord only gives them the proper facilities for such activities and the regulations of the modes of nature, but he is never responsible for their past and present activities. In the Vedanta Sutra 2.1.34, it is confirmed Vaishamya Nay Grihanya Na Shape Shatvat. The Lord is never partial to any living entity. The living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him facilities through the agencies of material nature, the external energy. Anyone who is fully conversant with all the intricacies of this law of karma or fruitive activities does not become affected by the result of his activities. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he is never subject to laws of karma. One who does not know the transcendental nature of the Lord and who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at fruitive results, as are the activities of the ordinary living entities, certainly becomes entangled himself in fruitive reactions. But one who knows the supreme truth is a liberated soul fixed in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So try to understand this. It's a very interesting concept, which Vandavidya Bhushan Prabhu explains. So he says, just like if you put a seed in a soil, that seed collects its nourishment from the soil, water and other things, and then turns into a plant. Desire is a seed. Desire is a seed. Try to understand. The tendency to desire is always with the jiva. We all desire, and we always desire. So Bhakti-sastri Bhushan Prabhu says that the tendency to desire cannot be given up. But which soil do you choose to put the seed of desire? That will be the future that you are going to experience. So if I put the seed of desire in the soil of material energy, then my material life is growing or continuing. Bewildered by false ego, that's what the jiva does. Right? Kartaham iti manyate, considering I am the doer. That the jiva continues to sow the seed of desire in the soil of material energy. And that marks the continuation of the cycle of birth and death. What happens is when I sow the seed of desire in the soil of material energy, the material energy gets stimulated and accordingly produces a result. Once you sow the seed of desire, how the material nature is going to stimulate, that's not in my hand. Then material nature will get stimulated and produce a result based on all the previous calculations. Right. Similarly, if Bhakti-sastri Bhushan Prabhu says, if I sow the seed of desire in the internal energy of Krishna, then the stimulation will begin to happen there. Now, just like you don't really do anything once after you have put the seed of desire, you don't really do anything. It's the material nature that produces the result and gives you the desired effect. Similarly, if you just sow the seed of desire, internal energy of Krishna, then internal energy will do whatever is required to be done to get you to the result that you want. Which means if my desires are proper, rightly oriented, then by the assistance of internal energy of Krishna, I easily can go back home back to Bhagavad. That internal energy will facilitate. I don't have to personally do everything. Just like in material nature, I don't have to personally do everything. Material nature facilitates the fulfillment of the desire. So, Baldevi Bhushan takes this to explain that this mentality of the jiva to desire has to be put in the right soil. That is the seed of that desire. It should be put in the right soil. Then you get spiritual perfection. If put in the soil of internal energy. Otherwise, once material desires are sown, then material nature is going to work immediately. Simulation level, right? And we can't do anything after that. Okay. Then in the purport here, also a very interesting point was mentioned about the different causes. The different causes. Using this again, Krishna is saying that we are not the cause of the fruits of our activities. Read this analogy, it's very interesting. The Lord is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth. Although without such rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. Right? How interesting it is. Can vegetation grow without rain? No. So is the rain the cause of vegetation? Yes.
Yes.
Then is rain the cause of this type of vegetation and that type of vegetation?
No.
No. Right? So it's a very beautiful way of explaining that I cannot do anything without Krishna's help. But if I have done right or if I have done wrong, that is not Krishna's doing. That is not Krishna's doing. People take it otherwise. After doing wrong, they will say, nothing happens without the will of Krishna. So if I have done something wrong, Krishna has done it. Right? So this is very interesting to understand that there is immediate cause, there is remote cause. Krishna is the remote cause. Therefore, nothing can happen without his will. But we are the immediate ones. We are the immediate ones. Or the material nature, right? There are four causes. We study that in Srimad Bhagavatam. The effective cause, the immediate cause, the remote cause, and there's one more, the efficient cause or something like that. And because of ego, we don't learn this lesson. What is that? Ignorance and competitive mentality does not allow us to see that behind any result, there can be multiple causes. And of all those multiple causes, Krishna is the supreme cause. Those who are Krishna conscious, they take that as the cause. Those who are not Krishna conscious, they take something else as the cause. It's a matter of perception, basically. It's a matter of perception. Like to give you an example here. If someone gets sick, can that person say, I am the cause of my sickness? No. No, I'm not the cause of my sickness.
Yes.
I am the cause of my sickness. No? I must have done some karma in the past because of sickness has come to me. Isn't it? Can the doctor say bacteria and virus, they are the cause of your sickness? Are they wrong? No. And can someone say, well, the demigods are the cause of your sickness because they are the controlling deities? The demigods are the cause of sickness. No? There is a Devi whose name is Jwara. Jwara means fever. And if you are having fever, that means you have gotten the mercy of that Devi. So she is the cause of sickness. Right? And then someone may say, well, Krishna is the cause of the sickness. I see it as Krishna's mercy. Is that person wrong?
No.
That person is also not wrong. It can still be Krishna's mercy. So here everything is correct. Now, based on my consciousness, I'll accept a particular cause. Right? I'll accept a particular cause. All are correct. So those who are Krishna conscious, they always see Krishna as the cause, the ultimate. But at the same time, they don't think that the other causes don't exist. That's complete knowledge. Right? That's complete knowledge. To understand all the causes and understanding that Krishna is the cause of all these causes. Next verse 15.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In the analogy you showed, no, Prabhu, desire material and desire internal. Just a question, Prabhu. By default, our desires are grown in the soil of material world, right? So when and where that when the sprout is growing, as per our karma, will that change to being sown in the spiritual internal energy, actually?
As soon as we come into association of Vaishnavas, then our desires change. Sadhu Sangha or Vaishnav Sangha begins the journey, new journey. Right?
Yes.
Like you are from Bahrain or Abu Dhabi,
Sharjah.
Sarjan. So I don't know if you came in Krishna consciousness in Sarjan. Right?
Yeah.
So before you were in Sarjan, you did not meet any devotees. So you're
Yes.
living a particular kind of lifestyle. Then you
Correct.
met the devotees in Sarjan. So you became a devotee in Sarja. Now, after some years, you may associate with a devotee who tells you, let's move to Vrindavan. I am going to Vrindavan. Then you will also develop a desire to go to Vrindavan by associating with that devotee. So our spiritual desires developed by association with devotees. All kinds of spiritual desires.
That arrangement made by Krishna or due to also cause of that arrangement?
It started with a particular cause, which is mercy of devotees, which is causeless.
Mhm.
And then once it started, then it goes on.
Yeah.
Next verse. Evam gyatma kritam karma purverapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvahi purvataram kritam. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty, following in their footsteps. Yes. Mukunda Krishna Guru.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. There are two classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted material things within their hearts, and some of them are materially free. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regulative principles of devotional service. Those who are already cleansed of the impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that others may follow their exemplary activities and thereby be benefited. Foolish persons or neophytes in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna's desire to retire from activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. To retire from the activities of Krishna consciousness and to sit aloof making a show of Krishna consciousness is less important than actually engaging in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna. Arjuna is here advised to act in Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of the Lord's previous disciples, such as the sun god Vivasvan, as mentioned here and before. The Supreme Lord knows all his past activities as well as those of persons who acted in Krishna consciousness in the past. Therefore, he recommends the acts of the sun god, who learned this art from the Lord some millions of years before. All such students of Lord Krishna are mentioned here as past liberated persons, engaged in the discharge of duties allotted by Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Next section. Different types of karma. Understanding karma on the platform of knowledge or jnana. When Krishna here explained about his own work, Krishna is going to teach Arjuna the spirit of akarma. You are acting and still you are not acting. How karma can be seen as a karma? Like before, Arjuna said previously, he wished to leave the battlefield and avoid the results of his karma, like a jnani through inactivity. But Krishna is going to teach Arjuna, you can still be in the battlefield, you can still fight, and you can still become free from the reactions of your karma. Which means you get the same result which a jnani is going to get without giving up your duty. That spirit Krishna is going to teach. Now, this becomes a very important knowledge for all of us. Why? Because in whatever situation we may be in life, either as a brahmachari or grihastha or vanaprastha or sannyasi, you have material duties. Can't give them up. Right? Can't give them up. And Krishna is here teaching the science how, while doing the duties, you remain unaffected by the results or the reactions of those activities. Isn't it? So this becomes very important for people like us to understand. Also for people if they are in iskcon, because iskcon Srila Prabhupada made in such a way, you cannot retire. You cannot retire. You have to be always actively engaged. You know? Even sannyas is not the ashram of retirement in iskcon. Traditionally, it used to be. When iskcon, it's not so. Right? In fact, sannyasis have more children than grihasthas. So they are active, very active. So this knowledge is therefore very helpful, how to understand, how to do Nishkam Karma, right? Though we are engaging in different activities, but we remain aloof from the reactions. Doesn't this thought come to your mind? I'm sure every devotee must have come across this situation in life. Should I give up? Sometimes, should I give up this duty or that duty? Can I take a break? Can I retire from these things now? If not now, after 2 years, 4 years later. Sometimes. Never get this thought. Never.
Yeah, we get that.
Initially, when you joined the movement earlier, no? Never.
Yes.
Never you got this thought. That means you have still not yet reached a particular stage of perfection in Krishna consciousness. Because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says you should get this thought.
Yes.
If you say I have not gotten this thought any time, then you have not come to even the stage which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says you should come to. Because if you are advancing in Krishna consciousness, you should get this doubt in your mind. It's a stage that you have to come to. Any person, any sadhaka will come to this stage. Where you have confusion. What should I do? Should I continue to do my material duties, or should I retire? Should I continue? Should I retire? Should I continue? Should I retire? He says that stage comes. Any sadhaka comes across that stage. Right? So either you have come across it. If you have not come across it, you're still far from that stage. But that stage is not the ultimate stage. That is still very low stage. That is very, very low stage. That's not the ultimate stage. When that stage comes. So you are always in that doubt, confusion. That this material duty is stopping me from growing in Krishna consciousness. That material duty is stopping me from growing in Krishna consciousness. So should I? And that will always be there. Why in iskcon I say so? Because in iskcon, even if you are doing some seva in the institute, you will have duties. And those duties will not always be pleasant duties. Right. Correct? So here Krishna is teaching us science. Very important science. Learning that science, we can remain unaffected by the results. Kim karma kima karmeti kavayo api yatra mohitaha tatya karma pravakshyami yajkyatva mokshase ashubhat. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Yes, let's read. Nagarajan Prabhu, have you read? Once.
No, Prabhu. I'm reading.
Okay, read.
Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of previous bona fide devotees. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such action should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in the line of disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku. And the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because of the direction instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. It is said that
one cannot ascertain the ways of religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can only be laid down by the Lord Himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Bhagavad-gita 6, Bhagavatam 6.3.19. No one can manufacture a religious principle by imperfect speculation. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahlada, Bhishma, Sukadeva Goswami, Yamaraja, Janaka, and Bali Maharaja. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self-realization. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. Hare Krishna.
कर्मणो हि अपि बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोधव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Right? This is what it is. Karma is pious activity. Vikarma is sinful activity. Both result into bondage. Akarma is Krishna conscious activity for the pleasure of Krishna. No fruit of good or bad. Leads to liberation. And what does Prabhupada say in the purport? Ragini Mataji, read please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinction between the action, inaction, and the unauthorized action. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of the action, reaction, and prevented action because it is a very difficult subject matter to understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its moods. One has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme, that is, one who has to learn perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in the Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad-gita is directed towards the conclusion, any other conclusion against his consequence and his attended action are vikarma or prohibited action. To understand all this, one has to associate with the authorities in the Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent person will be bewildered. Hare Krishna.
Karmani akarma yaha pashyet akarmani cha karma yaha sa buddhiman manusheshu sayuktah kritna karma krit. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Uma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. A person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna, therefore he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. The impersonalist ceases fruitive activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization, but the personalist knows rightly his position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Because everything is done for Krishna, he enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of this service. Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of world. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada gives an example in a lecture, karma and akarma. Shamala Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The example is given of a boy flying a kite. Sometimes it seems the kite is coming down, and sometimes it seems the kite is going up. Someone observing sees only the boy pulling the string. Similarly, unless one is very intelligent, he cannot understand what is karma and akarma. That is the whole subject matter of Bhagavad-gita lecture Bhagavad-gita 4.18, Bombay 74. Hare Krishna.
Did you understand the analogy the Prabhupada gave? What is trying to say using that kite example? What is he saying? Have you seen someone flying a kite? So what he's saying is, by observing the hands of the person who is flying the kite, what do you observe? He is pulling on the string, right? But looking at that, can you say whether the flight is going down or going up? Not always. Only if you are a very seasoned kite flyer, then you can say, right? If you're not a seasoned kite flyer, that person is pulling the string and the kite may be going down. Or that person is pulling onto the string and the kite might be flying up. Right? Isn't it? So he's saying that action is looking very same. He's pulling the string. But one reaction is kite is going down, other reaction is kite is going up. So similarly, he says, any action may appear to be karma, also may appear to be a karma. And only a very intelligent person will understand whether this will become karma or this will become a karma. It can be any action, any action. Let's say the action of working as a waiter in a restaurant. Even that action can become karma as well as akarma. So Prabhupada says only very intelligent person will understand that this is a karma if it is done in a particular way, and it is karma if it is done in a particular way. Right? So very beautiful example Prabhupada gives here of a kite. Amazing example. And what explanation acharyas give? Oof, that's very, very interesting. They say, if you do any activity and there is constant deliberation of whether it is sinful or pious, then what you are doing is karma. Now you may say, if I have to be a good man or a good woman, religious in nature, I have to think what is sinful and what is pious. Right? So Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhu says, but the mentality to differentiate between sinful and pious is fruitive mentality. And then if you do any action with that mentality, then action becomes a fruitive action. Now, then what is the other mentality which leads to a karma? What is the other mentality which doesn't give any pious result or impious result? What is that other mentality?
When any activity is performed keeping Krishna as the center for Krishna, then it's
Something more?
When you're away from the result, you do not expect any result. You're not looking for an outcome. You're just doing it, performing your duty for Krishna.
Executively orders of our spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness, well, as regardless of the result.
So when there is no deliberation of whether it is sinful or pious, but there is only one deliberation, whether this will please Krishna or not. And if it is going to please Krishna, even if it is sinful, no result, no reaction. Right? Now, within the context of whether it's going to please Krishna or not please Krishna, that deliberation will also come whether it is right or wrong. Should I do it or not do it? Is this karma or vikarma? That will also come because you can't do anything which the scriptures deny or not permit, for Krishna's pleasure. Only if Krishna instructs us to do it or the acharyas instruct us to do it or whatever. But when people are too much into that mentality of pious or impious activity, then they are having fruitive mentality. That deliberation is there. That's the consciousness with which they are working. Whereas the spirit of karma is, I am doing it for Krishna's pleasure. For Krishna's pleasure. Why? For Krishna's pleasure. That is the only way of calculating or thinking. And it is for Krishna's pleasure, I am okay with it, whatever it may be. Right? If it's not for Krishna's pleasure, then I'm not okay with it, whatever it may be. So that's the point. Therefore, today's Ekadashi, we don't do Ekadashi to become free from sinful reactions or sinful activities, reactions we did in the past. That's not the deliberation. If you read Ekadashi Mahatmya, maybe it emphasizes a lot on that. But that's not the deliberation. We will do Ekadashi because it will please Krishna. By doing Ekadashi, Krishna will be pleased. I'll get more time to chant, hear, read, do devotional service. If I do Ekadashi with the mentality, it will make me free from sin, then it becomes a punya karma. Next verse. Yasya sarve samaram. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tammahu panditam butaha. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Shridi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Only a person in full knowledge can understand the activities of a person in Krishna consciousness. Because the person in Krishna consciousness is devoid of all kinds of sense gratificatory propensities, it is to be understood that he has burnt up the reactions of his work by perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is actually learned who has attained to such perfection of knowledge. Development of this knowledge of eternal servitorship to the Lord is compared to fire. Such a fire, once kindled, can burn up all kinds of reactions to work. Hare Krishna.
Tyakva karmam pala sangam nityatripto nirashayah karmani abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his actions, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Vishwapati Mukunda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. This freedom from the bondage of actions is possible only in Krishna consciousness, when one is doing everything for Krishna. A Krishna conscious person acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he has no attraction for the results of the action. He is not even attached to his personal maintenance, for everything is left to Krishna.
nor is he anxious to secure things, nor to protect things already in his possession. He does his duty to the best of his ability and leaves everything to Krishna. Such an unattached person is always free from the resultant reactions of good and bad. It is as though he were not doing anything. This is the sign of akarma, or actions without fruitive reactions. Any other action, therefore, devoid of Krishna consciousness, is binding upon the worker, and that is the real aspect of vikarma, as explained herein before. Thank you, Brahma.
निराशेर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन् आप्नोति किल्बिषम्. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence, perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus, working is not affected by sinful reactions. Raj Srimad Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. A Krishna conscious person does not expect good or bad results in his activities. His mind and intelligence are fully controlled. He knows that because he is part and parcel of the Supreme, the part played by him as a part and parcel of the whole is not his own activity but is only being done through him by the Supreme. When the hand moves, it does not move out of its own accord, but by the endeavor of the whole body. A Krishna conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for his personal self gratification. He moves exactly like a part of a machine. As a machine part requires oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so a Krishna conscious man maintains himself by his work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He is therefore immune to all the reactions of his endeavors. Like an animal, he has no proprietorship even over his own body. A cruel proprietor of an animal sometimes kills the animal in his possession, yet the animal does not protest, nor does it have any real independence. A Krishna conscious person fully engaged in self realization has very little time to falsely possess any material object. For maintaining body and soul, he does not require unfair means of accumulating money. He does not therefore become contaminated by such material sins. He is free from all reactions to his actions. Thank you.
Thank you. So, let's go to the next verse, 4.22. And we'll look at the lecture. यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समः सिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. Yes, Sadharana.
A Krishna conscious person does not make much endeavor even to maintain his body. He is satisfied with gains which are obtained of their own accord. He neither begs nor borrows, but he labors honestly as far as is in his power, and is satisfied with whatever is obtained by his own honest labor. He is therefore independent in his livelihood. He does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. However, for the service of the Lord, he can participate in any kind of action without being disturbed by the duality of the material world. The duality of the material world is felt in terms of heat and cold and or misery and happiness. A Krishna conscious person is above duality because he does not hesitate to act in any way for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, he is steady both in success and in failure. These signs are visible when one is fully in transcendental knowledge.
Prabhupada says in a lecture, if you're working for Krishna, it is Krishna's decision whether you're successful or not successful. This means don't think that because you're Krishna conscious, you will always be successful. For it really does not matter. If you are unsuccessful, then we are sure that this is Krishna's arrangement. To know and accept this is to be Krishna conscious. So never be depressed because you are unsuccessful. A devotee is never depressed in this horrible condition of life.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
I've seen in certain occasions when devotee children or we ourselves they encounter failure in their material about education or their real life because of their not concentrating or not dedicating, and but chant, sing, come to temple, everything we'll do. But when failure occurs, it's not a learning point for us. We should learn from failure in the material circumstance also, not just think we are advanced, right? So how do we balance this kind of because we coming to Krishna, we feel joy. That joy doesn't make us think that we failed somewhere. So
We are trying to say that someone did a mistake or someone was careless, irresponsible, did not put sufficient efforts.
they don't put
And therefore one did not get the desired result.
Yeah.
Right?
Be it
And then,
education, be it job.
okay. And then they are careless.
Don't really wonder why that failure happened, and they think, okay, we are not actually. I'm both failure and joy. I'm happy.
What's wrong? If that person is happy, it's nice, no?
That's a bad example. So because we should not be failure in. We should put our efforts, get some.
See, first, let me tell you something,
Smart,
Tapan. Let me tell you something.
clear our exams.
What you are saying is fine. That is true, that a devotee should set a perfect example. But then, different living entities are of different nature. Some people, they don't mind so much of failures in life. And they are like that whether they are devotees or non-devotees. You'll find such non-devotees also who have failed miserably in life and still they'll always carry a smile on their face. Correct? Isn't it? So that is their nature. And what's wrong if that's their nature? That's fine. That's fine. It's okay. You can't really tell that they are wrong. That's their nature. Only if, let's say, someone was irresponsible, that person failed, and then that person is crying, and that person was careless, then you go and tell that person, you are careless, so you failed. But if someone is happy after failing, why you should have a complaint?
Okay.
If that person was supposed to do something and that has affected the bigger society, then it should be a matter of concern. But if it's about personal own perspective of looking at things, that person has a right to not be affected by it.
Correct.
Isn't it? That's okay. Some people are like that. No problem. No problem. So we can always warn them or intimidate them that you are a little irresponsible, you're a little careless. But then it's fine until unless it leads to a very big mistake, or if that person has made a big mess out of life. then it's like, you have to be really behind that person. Otherwise, it's okay. It's fine. All right, next verse. गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानवस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and is fully satisfied in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Yajnaya, for the sake of Supreme Lord. So this is what it means, basically. You work for Krishna with knowledge of Krishna. That is prescribed here. Both are important, no? You work for Krishna and you should also have knowledge for Krishna. Who is Krishna? Some people, they spend a lot of time to develop knowledge of Krishna and not much time working for Krishna. Some people may spend a lot of time working for Krishna and not enough time knowing Krishna or understanding Krishna. But both should be done. That is for the sake of Krishna you're doing it. Purport. Gunagrahi Anand Prabhu.
So becomes fully Krishna conscious. One is free from all dualities and thus is free from the contaminations of the material modes. He can become liberated because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Krishna. And thus his mind cannot be drawn from Krishna consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is the primeval Vishnu. Therefore, all his works are technically sacrifices because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person Vishnu Krishna. The resultant reactions to all such work certainly merge into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects.
The result merge into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects of those results. How interesting it is. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Yes, Devaki Karuna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. How activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for the present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul entangled in material contamination is sure to act in the material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from a disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth here in the Gita. This process is generally known as yajna or activities, sacrifices, simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahman as spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of his transcendental body are called Brahma Jyoti. Yes, Prabhuji, can you please scroll? Brahma Jyoti, his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in that Brahma Jyotir. But when the Jyotir is covered by illusion, Maya, or sense gratification, it is called material. This material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor, and the result are all combined together. Brahman, or the absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or the Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna or sacrifice for the Absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, and the consumption, the performer or leader of the performance, and the result or ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the Absolute, the Supreme Brahman. That is the method of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
We'll continue from the next verse in the next class. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, in the text 15, Krishna is telling Arjuna to follow the footsteps of previous acharyas. Just want to confirm with you, is that following their mood or attitude, their gratitude?
Following the activities they have done, following them.
Activity.
Yeah. What they have done, we repeat that. And they move everything.
But we always say that we don't imitate, but just follow.
So you're not imitating, you are doing what they did. They're chanting Hare Krishna, you're chanting Hare Krishna.
Devotional activities. Yeah, just do the same. Okay.
Devotion.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much.
Yes, Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Advait Pranam. Prabhuji, we just read in this verse 4.23, work for Krishna and knowledge of Krishna. Knowledge of Krishna, of course, we understand that it is reading about, when we read Bhagavad-gita, or we hear reading and hearing about Krishna is knowledge. Work for Krishna is what? Is it the devotional
Seva.
service we do? The devotional service that we are doing is work for Krishna.
Seva.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in this verse 4.23, in the purport at the last line, as Srila Prabhupada was mentioning, that resultant reaction to all such work, sacrifice for Vishnu, is certainly merged into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects. So, Prabhuji, I was thinking like the way the initial time we introduced to the newcomers, that if you do this chanting, or if you do this particular activity, then you will be gaining this material, your mind will be peaceful, and other material benefits we normally say. Is it not seems contradictory? Means we are saying that some material effects will be there, although there is a transcendental effect is there. Could you please just elaborate here how we should?
Yes, Prabhu, what you are saying is correct, but that's the way you are tricking that person to come to Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
That's the way to trick that person.
Okay.
Because that person is not going to be immediately attracted to transcendental knowledge or transcendental life. So you trick that person. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But they are also gaining the result, right? I mean,
So
initially
that's fine. They're gaining both the results. Little material, little spiritual.
Okay.
And if they gain the little spiritual, that little spiritual will inspire them to be attracted to more Krishna consciousness.
So that result here, as it is mentioned, does not suffer any material effects. So is that
Because it's not purely Krishna conscious activity. So in that case, that person will have some material benefits, some spiritual benefits.
okay?
In case it's done completely with spiritual understanding for spiritual goal, for Krishna's pleasure, then it will have no material effects.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Babuji, I have another question. Sorry. In text 14, you mentioned four causes.
I
didn't
don't remember
hear.
the four causes, the names exactly. Three I remember, fourth one I don't remember.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Sanatana Thakur.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this particular Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir slok, can you little again explain it in brief, because I did not get it clearly, Prabhuji.
The gist of that verse is everything in this material world or spiritual world made up of Brahman. Right? That is true. So whatever you're doing, if your knowledge is correct, your approach is correct, your mentality is correct, then you are offering even material things into the Brahman. And if you do that, there will not be any reaction for that activity. Now, how does this happen? This happens because of the consciousness of the doer. This is to refute this mentality that if I'm engaging in normal material activity, how can my material activity not produce a material result? So the science of phenomenon is being explained that that activity which you are doing is also a product of Brahman. And the result that activity is going to produce is also Brahman. So if it is done in the right consciousness, Brahman will not produce a material activity. It will not produce a material result. Rather, it will produce a transcendental result. So this thing is very easy to understand, but here it is just being explained in a more technical manner for the Gyanis. For the Gyanis, they will understand it in this way.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Shamala Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In the class, you said about guna and mentality type of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Which mode controls these different personalities? Sorry, I couldn't catch that. Can you say which mode
It's given in the
controls this?
purport. Given in the purport. Read the purport, it's given there.
Okay.
Mitravan Seva Mata. It's given in the purport. Prabhupada has mentioned it. Mitravan Seva Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you gave the example of Ekadashi. We offer it to Krishna. We do it for love of Krishna. But how to relate it with the day-to-day activities which do in Grihastha, in office? We do so many activities which are not as such Krishna related directly. So how can we connect those activities with Krishna?
Indirectly, they can be connected to Krishna. So that's how we can do them for them also for Krishna. You're going to office to do what? To earn money. You're going to use that money in Krishna Seva.
We're dealing there with so many people. Though, how
You're
can
dealing with so many people also for what?
for earning money?
And you're going to use that money in Krishna Seva.
Okay. And Rupaji, one more question in the purport of text 20. It is written that he's not even attached to his personal maintenance, for everything is left to Krishna, not anxious for his possessions. So how to understand this in the stage,
You are
in the
asking
Grasta
how to
stage?
understand this or how to apply this.
Yes, yes, yes,
Huh?
exactly. How to apply this, like in Grasta when we are in this stage, we're practicing devotee.
These verses are talking about someone who is at the stage of perfection. So we are not there. We are practitioners, right? So you cannot apply that now. At max, we can try to apply, or we can desire to apply. We cannot apply. When our consciousness will become more pure, then automatically the application will also happen. So when you study Bhagavad-gita, you should always know there are Bhagavad-gita verses which are for beginners. There are Bhagavad-gita verses which talk about the perfected personalities. So when we come across verses like that, which is for perfected, self-realized souls, how can we relate with those verses? We are not at that level. You know, let's just give me an example. If personalities like Jayapataka Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and others, they read these verses, they'll be able to relate with it.
They have shown this. Guru
Yeah,
Maharaj
sure,
has
because
himself.
they relate with it. Okay, this is how it is. But we cannot relate with it, right? This is the goal that we need to get to. Fine. And that goal will be slowly achieved, not immediately. Takes time.
One more question, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you gave the example that everyone has had came across the feeling of quitting everything, the material responsibilities. But if we quit these responsibilities and do services in Krishna consciousness, then it will be wrong.
No, nothing wrong about it. What's wrong? Narad Muni says you give up everything and you serve Krishna, still there's nothing wrong. It's just that you need to have that kind of heart, right? But there's nothing wrong.
But we
Tyaktva
can pray
swadharma.
for that at least. But if we are working for
In
a
Srimad
family, which is
Bhagavatam, what is he saying? Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam hare bhajan napakvo tapate tato yadi. He's saying, even if you give up your swadharma and you just take to serving Krishna, and your devotional service is not fully ripened, even if you fall down, there is no loss. That's what Narad Muni is saying. Getting it? Like I once asked His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj a question. There was a boy who wanted to join Brahmachari ashram. Many young boys, they want to join Brahmachari ashram. So I told Maharaj, you always encourage people to become Brahmacharis. And we know very well, you also might be knowing very well from your experience that they may later on not be able to continue, isn't it? And it's not wrong. I mean, if someone is not able to continue, what's wrong with that? It's fine. You then move on to the next ashram and practice Krishna consciousness, isn't it? So in that sense, it's not a loss as such, because you can be a good Grihastha devotee also. But then, you have lost some years, no? In the sense that, let's say some boy joined the ashram at the age of 25, 26, and then that person remained for 2, 3, 4 years in the ashram, and then that person moved out. So then that 3, 4 years, you lost connection with the social world, the professional world. You have become a little outdated. Now you have to go out and work. There'll be a lot more challenges, correct? You have also lost your right age to get married, or so many things you have lost. And now you'll be under some pressure. I'm going back to the life which I left before. So why should we then encourage, devotees to join and become brahmacharis? So you know what Maharaj said? If that person uh, joins the temple and stays only for 2 days also, at least for those 2 days, that person has done pure devotional service.
And those 2 days are going to stay for him forever.
And see, he's saying, at least for those 2 days, he has done pure devotional service. He has given up all his duties, everything he has given up. And those 2 days of devotional service will become his eternal credit. Which is what Narad Muni is saying. Taktva swadharmam charanam bhajam hare. You give up all your duties and you serve Krishna. Right?
Yes.
So there's nothing. So even if you can do it for 1 day, what's wrong with that? Let's say eternal credit.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare
Hare Krishna. Nagarajan Prabhu.
The verse 4.18. Action in inaction, inaction in action. How to understand this meaning?
Action in inaction, inaction in action. How to understand? Action in inaction. Someone is not acting in the sense someone is not doing one's duty. So you call that as inactive person. Correct? But then that person still has desires in the mind. So that person is active. Action in inaction. Right? Isn't it? Like, if someone is sleeping, will you call that person inactive? Yes. Yes, that person is inactive. But sleeping is also an activity. Action in inaction. And what is inaction in action? I am doing so many things, but none of these things are going to produce a karma. So though I am doing so many things, I am still inactive.
Means it is possible in devotional service only.
Yeah, it's possible in devotional service, or it is possible even in Jnana platform or Nishkama Karma platform, that you are acting without any reactions. Your Jnana burns the results of your karma.
Some classes before you have explained in Mahabharata, one butcher was explaining about the transcendental knowledge.
Correct. So that butcher was, though he was a butcher, he was cutting flesh, but that butcher was transcendentally realized. Why? That knowledge of Atma burn up all the reactions of cutting the meat or cutting the flesh.
Even though he is doing action, but it is inaction.
Oh, simple. Tulasi Mataji.
Krishna Prabhu, my question was a little similar, but relating to verse 4.17, where it says, therefore, one should properly understand what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So my question was around inaction and the fact that it actually has a dual nature or characteristic. Is that correct? Because sometimes when, as an example, if there is like a slaughterhouse, and I don't protest that there's a building of a slaughterhouse in my neighborhood or something and it's coming up, then that would be the nature of like a karmic thing on myself from a society point of view. Whereas if I know that there's a movie showing and it's nothing about Krishna, and I then choose inaction in terms of not going to participate in that inaction, then that becomes like a sort of activity that is of a transcendental nature. Is that a correct understanding or not?
No, that's not the correct understanding.
Please help me.
Inaction here does not mean you don't act. Right? That something wrong is happening and you're not participating in it, so your activity becomes transcendental. No. That's not the way it's being explained here. The meaning is you are doing something for pleasure of Krishna. If you would not have done it for pleasure of Krishna, that action would have produced a reaction. Since you're doing it for Krishna's pleasure, that action is not going to produce a reaction. Therefore, that action has become inaction.
Okay, understood. So action is karmic action, forbidden action is vikarma, and inaction is Krishna conscious activities.
Yeah, one way is that to understand. Other general meaning of the word inaction is you're not doing anything. You're inactive. Right? Which is
okay.
Which is a person, which is for use for a person who is lazy, irresponsible.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just wanted to understand this part where you said that mentality to differentiate between sinful and pious, that is karma. But when it comes to a karma, deliberation is okay as long as we are trying to deliberate how to please Krishna. Prabhuji, it is possible for a person to actually, at certain points at least, and some of the activities can be a karma activities, right? It can be mixed sometimes because mostly we may end up doing, karmic activities, pious or not pious. But sometimes we may also do, an akarma activity where we are trying to, deliberate on whether this activity will please Krishna or not. So that mixed thing may be there in every person who's practicing Krishna consciousness. That's one thing I wanted to find out. And the other thing, Prabhuji, what would be a good example of, trying to deliberate on whether this would please Krishna or not? Would it be a seva that we are talking about, or?
First question, answer is yes. Okay.
Yes.
Second question, you make that your nature. That whatever you do, you want to do it for Krishna's pleasure. Then, once that is your nature, or that's your goal, or that's your everything in life, then you find the means of how you're going to do it. Whatever you have to do. Right? I want to do everything for Krishna's pleasure. Now I have to be a mom, I have to be a professor, I have to be a this, I have to be that. Now, how will I do all these things with this particular foundation? Right? So when I have set this particular approach in thinking, my thoughts will spring up from that soil. That was the point. Where are you sowing the seed? What is the soil? So if the soil is, I'm a mother, I'm a parent, I'm a professor, I'm a social being, then whatever you think will be a product of that soil. But if I'm convinced, utterly convinced, that I am a spirit soul who is a part and parcel of Krishna, and I am supposed to serve Krishna, then I may assume and play all these responsibilities. Now, how am I going to do it? Those thoughts will spring from the soil of Krishna consciousness. Then your deliberation will be in the right direction. To deliberate in the right direction, you are not supposed to think, how should I deliberate in the right direction? To deliberate in the right direction, you have to make the direction right. Then deliberation you do, it will automatically in the right direction. Right? For example, if you have to go to a place by cycling, how will I cycle? That you will, if you know how to cycle, you will cycle. But if you want to reach that place by cycling, you have to keep that goal in the mind, the destination. Then you cycle, you'll reach there. Right? So how to deliberate in this direction? First, you make this direction the only direction. And then you start deliberating. You're getting it?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Then everything you think or everything you deliberate will mostly be in that direction.
So the thought process will gradually shift in that direction, and the inputs that we are getting, from our thoughts would be
From the super soul, from the teachers outside, from everything, then we'll be facilitating that. Right? That's the point. You make the goal clear. Everything in the, as they say, right? What was that book? The Secret or something? That if you have desire to get something or achieve in your life, everything in the world supports you to get it. Similarly, if you desire to be Krishna conscious, and that's your strong desire, then everything in the world is going to help you to come to that. You can perceive in that way. Okay, Mandir.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there's another question last. If Varna depends on Guna and Karma, what induces that type of Guna and Karma? Previous Guna and Karma, previous birth, previous life, previous activities. Right. So we stop. I have noticed that many of you are not doing the quizzes. So please complete the quizzes. Doing a quiz is not a very difficult task. We are attending the classes. We are reading the book. You don't have to memorize answers from anywhere. You just have to sit and attempt it. So please don't delay on those quizzes. Complete on time. Right? Don't delay. All right. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.